What's going on, Bucks fans? We're here live at Pirate Parlay on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen. We're here after a big win, another big win for the Bucks over the Philadelphia Eagles. It always feels a little bit sweeter when you beat the Eagles. Can't stand that franchise. With the Bucks win big, 33-16. We'll get into all the news surrounding the game, who shined, who struggled, what injuries happened. And some of the other key storylines with Mr. Tom Brady returning to town on the Fox broadcast. We'll get into all that and more after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucks are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
What is going on, Bucs fans? Back here on the other side. Yeah, and the Buccaneers, amazing win at home, 33-16. They got off to a hot start, didn't let off the gas, and they just kind of put a stranglehold on the Philadelphia Eagles offense early on in the game. They got off to a hot start. Finally, they broke the streak after 23 straight games. In game 24, they broke the streak. They finally got a first drive touchdown. That streak went all the way back to 2022 in the final week of the season against Atlanta. They come out hot. They get a touchdown. Mike Evans, who else, with that touchdown, with those yards today? He had a big season. He had a historical season today, crushing it in all levels. It was great. There's a lot of Kelly Green in the building. Didn't like that, but it was fun to watch a lot of Kelly Green leave early after the Bucs started to pour it on. So it was a good win for the Bucs, a good bounce back win. Everything that they didn't do, essentially, they did against the Eagles. All three phases really showed up. There was that one, kind of the blocked field goal that was returned, a little blemish on the special teams, and otherwise, it was a good day. Jake Camarda wasn't a healthy scratch. They brought up Trenton Gill from the practice squad. Didn't do too much better, and odds are Jake Camarda probably makes that tackle to save that 2-point conversion that Trenton Gill could not make. But overall, a really solid performance of the Bucs. They got off to a hot start on defense, shutting down the Eagles' offense to a 3-and-out. My biggest key to cannon fire, one of them, was getting off to a hot start on both sides of the ball. The Bucs clearly didn't do that last week, and it led to the Broncos getting out pretty early lead early on, taking the Bucs out of their rhythm and making them kind of one-dimensional, which was another one of my keys to cannon fire. Make the Eagles one-dimensional, shut down that run game, and really make them pass. That really helps as well when you are obviously scoring points. So now they can't use the running game. They have to go to the air, and they try to settle down and after halftime and get that run game going. And they got some success there a little bit with Saquon Barkley, but for the most part, the Bucs defense showed up in all three phases as far as run support, contain pressure, and also in coverage. You loved what you saw there. 6 sacks on the day. We'll get more into that and what players shined and who stood out and made those plays a little bit later on the defensive side. But I want to start on the offensive side of the ball with the Buccaneers. You look at what they're able to do early on in the game. Just driving down the field, first drive, they held onto the ball for a little bit over 5 minutes, ends up with a Mike Evans 2-yard touchdown pass to Baker Mayfield. They get the ball right back a couple plays later, and Trey Palmer with a 15-yard touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield puts them up really early on, 14-0 in the first quarter in just 10 minutes to play. In fact, throughout that first quarter, the Eagles were held to negative net yards, zero negative net yards on the day. They struggled, man. The Bucs shut them down. They struggled going into the second quarter. Right at the beginning of the second quarter, Buccaneers get on the board again with a Baker Mayfield 1-yard touchdown run, and even past that, you kind of look. Later in the second quarter, again, they marched down the field. They settled for a field goal, which was questionable to me. Decision here, 4th and 3 at the 4th and goal at the 3-yard line. I think you go for it there, but they decided to kick. Chase McLaughlin, easy 20-yard, 1-yard field goal. All this is happening. The Bucs are up 24-0, and the Eagles still do not have a total positive net yard on the day. Like, crazy stuff. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched a game where one team went over a quarter and a half without putting up yards on them. That's how dominant this Bucs defense was early on. Vita Vea getting in early on with a big sack. He had himself a day in his return, 2 tackles for a loss, a sack. Plus, he also had a couple quarterback hits there as well. But, I think what really stood out is the Bucs had a sour taste in their mouth. They already don't like this team as it is. Lot of history between these two teams, and they just went out and they destroyed. And it was really a strong performance by the Buccaneers on defense to limit them to 0 yards really until the middle of the second quarter. And for the offense for just coming out and taking advantage of what the Eagles were giving them. It started off a little dink and dunk. Rashad White with a big run to the left side for 17 yards, kind of jump started that first drive. And then, you've got Baker Mayfield hitting Rashad White again on that tip pass that was tipped at the line. He tips it up, catches it to himself, breaks out the left side again for 22 yards. And then bada bing, bada boom, Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans for a touchdown. A quick 3 and out, right? Quick 3 and out penalty on the play too. Gives the Bucs good field position. A 16-yard quick pass to Otten. Then he hits Godwin for 28 yards. Then he hits Evans for 17 yards. Bada bing, bada boom, 15-yard pass. 2 plays later, touchdown, Trey Palmer. Again, defense with a nice 3 and out stand. And the Buccaneers, again, getting help from the Eagles with the penalty on the first play to bring them 1st and 5. Rashad White again takes it for an explosive play for 13 yards. Baker sacked on the drive, but the muff punt happens on that series where I don't know, Isaiah Rodgers pushes Josh Hayes into Cooper DeJean. He muffs the punt. J.J. Russell recovers it at the Philadelphia 22. They're right there already at the end of the first quarter in scoring position. Baker Mayfield runs, bada bing, bada boom. Irving takes it for the right end for 15 yards. Baker Mayfield's in the end zone 2 plays later on a 1-yard touchdown. They're up 21-0 at this point. 21-0. Just showing out, the offense, the defense with 2 offense going down there and scoring right away. The defense with 2 back-to-back 3 and outs. Finally, the Eagles defense gets a stop, but special teams comes up with a big recovery. And before you know it, they're already up. They're already up 21 points. Philadelphia tries to figure out a way to get the ball moving again, but boom, 3 and out. And the Bucs now have the opportunity to put more points on the board. It's just, I think you just look at what the Buccaneers were able to do on both sides of the game. They were able to just really kind of control the line of scrimmage, which was really big. Justin School, I thought, played really well. I thought the interior of the line, especially Graham Barton. Graham Barton had the false start, and he had, which was a weird play. Anyways, he's a center. He just lifted the ball up. But he had a false start, snap infraction, they say. And there was also the bobbled snap. I'm not sure if that was Baker, if that was Graham, whatever it did, it resulted in a gain of a yard. So not the worst thing that could happen. Baker recovered it. But he really handled Jalen Carter, who just destroyed the Saints interior last week. You see what the Saints did, what he did to the Saints. 18 plays he affected with pressures, with tackles for loss, with tackles for no gain. He just had a phenomenal day, and Graham Barton in the interior of the offensive line really bounced back, as well as Justin School, limiting this pass rush and interior rush to really no effect. I mean, they did just a phenomenal job. And then the Buccaneers, they marched right down the field again. They get down to the 6-yard line. That's the one where Baker, the aborted snap there, who was it on? Who knows? Cam Johnson nearly had his first career touchdown. He can't come down with it. It kind of, I think Baker just put so much zip on it. It swung him around. It looked like on the play. He wasn't able to come down with it. And of course, from the 4th and 3 from the 3-yard line, they settled for the field goal there. But up 24-0 right away. I mean, no looking back. There's still half of a quarter to the halftime, and they were moving and grooving right along. So the offense came out hot, stayed hot, and it was really nice to see them bounce back after the game they had last week. We got some comments in here. Let's check them. Lucas says, who would have thought that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield would be MVP favorites in the first? It's crazy to think, but they both have had phenomenal games and phenomenal start to the seasons. Sam Darnold, I think Bill Belichick said it best, right? Carolina liked what they saw out of him, it just didn't work out. LA, the only team that's really given up on Darnold is the Jets, and giving him the opportunity this year. JJ McCarthy goes down, and he's got that thing humming as well. Devin White, I thought Devin White left to play with a better team. I love watching the Eagles fan videos. They're making raging about their team. Devin White, healthy scratch, didn't even make the trip. He was he was out for a personal reason, so we'll see. Maybe it was too personal. Come back and not be inactive anyways, so just stayed home for the trip. Lucas Pettis asks, are we going to have Kancey and Winfield on Thursday? They're both very close. I think Winfield for sure. I think he'll be back. I think Gedeke will probably be back too. It's a short week. He's got a past concussion protocol from an independent doctor, not the Bucs staff. Kancey, I'm not sure. Kancey, I want to say he might be back, but I also want to say that they might keep him out another game. And let him, have this full recovery with that mini bye week, the 10 days off before the Saints game. So we'll see how he progresses during the week. Obviously, it's a short week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they're on a plane Thursday up to Atlanta for the game. So I'll be up there covering it too. So I'll be giving you guys live tweets and highlights from there as well. Second and Fun says, no one has acknowledged that I had the same amount of tackles and interceptions as Devin White. More Devin White love. I love that. Berger says, go Bucks, baby. Yes, Philip Berger said, can't forget you, JC, after, big day for the franchise. You got to thank the GOAT. I did. I got to talk to Tom Brady today, which is pretty cool. A lot of you might not know my story or how I broke into this, but a lot of you know, obviously, I'm a Patriots fan there. So watched him come down. In 2019, I moved down here. He moved down here a year after. I was kind of looking for coverage on Tom Brady, and outside of sports radio, I really didn't find anything. I tried to go to like Fox Sports, and it was just NASCAR and bass fishing. So I finally stumbled on Facebook. I found this podcast. It was just like a live call-in radio type hybrid thing, the Sports Web, and I called in and gave my thoughts on Tom Brady. I gave my thoughts on Gronk when he came there, and they liked what I said, so they asked me to come on as a guest. I parlayed that into a writing job with them on a podcast that I used to have, The Audible, if you guys are familiar with it. And then I obviously Pewter Report for 2 years. Now I've been at Sports Illustrated going into my second year. So that doesn't happen if Tom Brady doesn't come down here. So I got to talk to Tom, kind of thank him for inadvertently giving my start in this career. So it was cool to meet him and talk to him. Obviously I interviewed him over the last 3 years of his career, but kind of getting that opportunity to kind of just thank him and say all that. Richie P says, checking in, any thoughts on what Brady said about Bakergate? Yes, I have that written down right here. I wanted to get to that. Obviously, if you're not familiar, Baker went on a podcast and kind of said that when he came into the building, guys were kind of stressed out. It was a high-strung environment. Brady snapped back. He clapped back. He said, I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. Then he went on to say, this wasn't a daycare. If I was going to have fun, I was going to Disneyland with my kids. There's a way to approach this game, and it's the right mindset to push teammates. Brady was fired up. Brady also dropped that outside of the Bucs, one of the sneaky teams that he almost went to was going to be the Chicago Bears. So a little bit of tidbit there. Brady, I haven't been able to listen to the broadcast. Tell me in the comments if you guys watched it on TV how he did. How do you think he did? I've heard that mixed reviews. Like some stuff is really good. Other stuff is, kind of like the pacing and timing of what he's talking about. trying to explain it thoroughly to for people to understand other than going too far into it. It's just not as smooth as Greg Olsen was, but let me know what your thoughts on it. Faruka Wab says, think we'll see J.J. Russell in the linebacker rotation on Thursday. It all depends. A couple of injuries to get to. We'll start with Savassier Dennis, left the game with a shoulder injury. Savassier has been a really good talent, but unfortunately, he's been banged up a lot. Seems like he can't stay healthy. We'll see the severity of it. We'll get a little bit more of a clear and concise picture tomorrow once we talk to Todd Bowles. And then obviously Trey Palmer went out with a concussion. As we know with Luke Gedeke, sometimes and Zion McCollum, sometimes concussions can be really bad where, you're out for 3 weeks. Sometimes you're cleared in a week. It seems very far-fetched that he'll be cleared in 3 days, depending on the severity. We'll see. But for them to kind of ruled him out right away makes me think that he'll probably miss this game and has a chance to maybe return for the Saints. But I definitely don't think he's going to be healthy and able to go as far as on Thursday. But if Savassier is out, J.J. Russell's next man up. He's next in that rotation. He played very well last year against the Colts, I think it was, when he had to start. Had his first career sack in that game. And, the Bucs trust him to step in and play good football when his numbers called upon. Ben Parrish says, just think when we can get full strength. That's a scary thing. The Bucs haven't been full strength since day one. Kajikansi's missed. With Vita Vea, Kajikansi in the middle, just kind of think of how much can funnel to the outside linebackers. Joe Tryon-Shrinka, Anthony Nelson, who had a sack. Chris Braswell had an amazing play where he just bull rushed off the edge and if he was a tick faster, he would have got Jalen Hurts down for a sack, but still affected a play. Jalen Hurts had to throw it out of bounds. Had a great day there. Yaya Diaby with a strip sack, his first of the season. He gets a double whammy there. He played really well. Again, and having Vita Vea back kind of changes things. And, the Eagles just weren't prepared. I don't know if they didn't do enough hydration during the week. They said they did after the game or whatnot, but you're having guys drop like flies, with heat exhaustion. You had Jalen Carter and Cam Jurgens out for a minute, and then Reed Blankenship just kind of passed out, and he was out with an illness, and it was just like one guy after another. They were dropping, and Bucs wear white jerseys for a reason. It's hot. It was hot. It was like 110 degrees down on the field. Baker said afterwards, what was he changed his pants during halftime, which was just pure Bakerisms. I still can't believe Rick Stroud asked him what "slime me up" means. That was incredible moment for, I think, a lot of people in the media. Rick Stroud asking what "slime me up" means, but that's neither here nor there. Richie P says, I personally think Bakergate comments is nothing burger, and I feel like Brady feels the same way. Yeah, it's just, Baker said after he thought his comments got kind of blown out of proportion and misconstrued. They're two different people. They're going to operate a different way, and, Baker's a little bit more laid back, and Brady's a little more high strung because Brady has to be high strung. Baker still, to this day, he's got some expectations, but not really. He doesn't have national expectations. He's got expectations amongst Bucs fans. You can tell the national expectations weren't there clearly when the quarterback rankings come out, and he's still in the bottom, half of the league, and the Bucs weren't picked to win the playoffs in many national landscapes. So, Brady, you're Super Bowl or bust. He's got to be dialed in. He's got to be focused. He's got to get everybody focused. It's a little bit different situation. So I think it's a nothing burger too. Speaking of burger, Phil Berger says Shepard was a nice addition today. He had a nice 30-yard catch. Great segue there. Thank you, Richie P and Berger. He had a nice 30-yard catch. He's going to probably be active again this week. We'll see, though, because Raheem Jarrett is also able to come off IR. So we'll see kind of how that progresses. If they bring off Raheem Jarrett off IR, if they decide that they want to elevate Shepard for one more week or assign him to the active roster, it'll be kind of interesting to see how that all plays out. The Buccaneers can also elevate Ernest Brown, I believe, this week as well. Nope. Yes, because he missed the first game. So they can elevate Ernest Brown this week as well, which could end what's his name? Stills' time on the roster, who was signed before week 1 off, I believe, the Arizona Cardinals practice squad. So they can make some moves and kind of free some things up. Bucs definitely play better under the radar. I agree. They're a chip on their shoulder team. Brady said he almost went to the Bears because, okay, yeah. I don't know about that. He had some cue cards that he brought in. He literally had some cue cards that he brought in with like pros and cons. I saw a picture of him. I tried to like kind of zoom in, but you can't see much. It's kind of blurry after a little bit, but someone who's got the skills needs to kind of like clean that up so we can see what the pros for the Bucs were, because there are quite a few on there. So Lucas says, I still don't think Dean is playing that good. He should have had the interception. I agree. I mean, that's a touchdown, if you can bring it back. But he's got stone hands. Like Dean's known for that. Like he doesn't have the hands. If that's Zion, he's gone. That's a pick 6 for Zion McCollum. Dean's got to get better catching the ball. I'm sure Todd Bowles is going to give him crap for that. I unfortunately wasn't able to stick around for press conferences, or I would have asked him that, but he definitely got some heat for that. Let's see. Second and Fun says, I wish they'd take Gronk off the desk and put him in the booth with Brady. That would be entertaining. They'd end up talking about all kinds of stuff typically considered off limits. I think Gronk would take it. I think Brady would try to be a little more serious, and Gronk would kind of take it off the rails. I shared on my Twitter page, X page. That sounds dirty. Gronk, they played a trick on Gronk and had him like think that there was this tight end for the Cowboys. It was pretty funny. Go check that out. It's over on my Twitter page. It should be pretty recent. I do tweet a lot, so share a lot of Bucs things. So, but scroll down a little bit, you'll find it after you watch this, of course. And while you're watching this, if you're on YouTube, appreciate you. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Definitely get that popping. If you're on Twitter, come on over. We got cookies over here. And you guys can comment, like, interact, subscribe. Again, the more you guys subscribe and like, the more it gets the algorithm for Google picks it up and puts it in front of other Bucs fans who are looking for Bucs content. So Ben Parrish says, happy for Vita. Vita looked like a beast. I'm not going to lie. I talked about what he did and his impact of the game early on. You take out that 59-yard run by Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles Saquon Barkley has just 25 yards on the ground. That's it. Like on 9 carries. Like that's not good. The Bucs did a phenomenal job of swallowing Barkley up, taking him out of the game plan early, putting them into situations, especially when they started to score where they couldn't use him. Jalen Hurts only had 20 yards on 8 scrambles. Of course, he had the 1-yard push. But hey, and they couldn't even get Kenneth Gainwell involved. He only had two rushes for 9 yards, and they made Jalen Hurts one-dimensional, which was one of my keys to Cannon Fire. They pretty much hit on all 3. I said you got to get pressure on him, force him into mistakes. They got 2 forced fumbles out of him for him holding on to the ball too long. They didn't get an interception, but 2 forced fumbles, near pick with Dean. They sacked him 6 times. Lavonte had 2 of those. Anthony Nelson had 1. Vita Vea had 1. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka had a strip sack. I mean, Yaya Diaby had the strip sack. And Logan Hall showing up in the stat sheet with a sack this week, too, after a fumble recovery last week. So Logan Hall getting some work in there as well. But they did a great job, make him one-dimensional, make him, make mistakes, put the pressure on him, and get off to a hot start on offense and defense. Check, check, check. Big old W in the win column. Bucs move to 3-1. They're first place in the NFC South with a big game coming up against the Falcons. If they can win this game, they extend their lead, and then they win against this. They sweep this, and they're really, really in good position going forward for the NFC South division. So I think they control their destiny, but this is, again, I mentioned it earlier in the week. This is a very tough stretch of games. You have 2 divisional games with the Falcons and with the Saints. Then you have the Ravens in town. Then you have the Falcons in town. Then you go to KC. Then you have San Francisco in town. And then you're in, bye week, week 11, which is great for them because they're getting all these injuries now. They had the mini bye, and then hopefully, they'll come back around week 11. That helps them heal up if they're dealing anything. Palmer did go down with a concussion burger. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be able to play on Thursday. Ben Parrish says defensive line, definitely 8. Faruko Wub says now Baker's going to use what Brady said to add to that chip on his shoulder. Baker loves adding chips. Like, he's a stacker, bro. He just likes to stack them all up on top of each other, see how big they can get without falling. And he continues to use things to motivate him. And I think that's going to be something that he was asked about that. He's, just kind of left it at, those are taken out of context. I've already talked about it. We're not going to go on that. Sharing about tight ends on your X page does sound kind of iffy, right? Richard says hello. Couple more in here, then I'll get back to my thoughts on the game. Minus Saquon run, Eagles really had to fight and earn every first down. Yeah, I mean, and even then, you look at the first down differential. The Bucs had 29 first downs. The Eagles only had 16. They're both the same on third down, 6 for 13. But I mean, they just outgained them, in pretty much every statistical category. 445 yards to 227. 74 plays for the Bucs to 58. They killed the time of possession with 36 minutes, 17 seconds to 23 minutes and 43 seconds. Passing yards was 334 to 114 favor of the Bucs. They did just edge out the Bucs in rushing yards, 113 to 111. But again, you take out that Saquon Barkley big run, and it's looking a lot different than what it was. And speaking of the Bucs running game, 111 yards. You got pretty much duplicate numbers from White and Irving, both with 10 attempts, 49 yards, healthy 4.9 yard average. Bucky Irving, though, the crowd goes wild, chanting his name as he gets his first career NFL touchdown on the ground. Just a little 1 yard in, but still got his first touchdown in the third quarter to give the Bucs a healthy 30 to 14 lead. That was the extra point that was missed for the 2-point conversion on that play. But, Bucky Irving continued to get more opportunities. He also was in the passing game, only had one catch for 6 yards. Rashad had 2 for 35, that big 22-yarder on that first drive. But, I mean, 1-2 punch is legit there. Mike Evans, I mentioned the history that he made, continues to do just amazing things. Moved into 31st all-time in receiving yards. He has the opportunity to reach rarefied air here coming up soon with 97 touchdowns on the season in his career, 98 for his career. One was a fumble recovery in the end zone, but 97 receiving. Has a chance to crack 100 by the season's end. He just continues to impress and just be that guy consistently. He's got to pick up his numbers a bit. They got to get him more involved. He has to have some monster games because right now he's trending to just miss his 1,000-yard total. I think it's finished around like 990 yards on 70-something receptions. But he's got the capability, obviously, to go off at any point, and he's going to need that. In addition, Lavonte David, 1,500 career tackles. Derek Brooks is the only person in Buccaneers history to do that. He is tied with 30 forced fumbles with Khalil Mack, the only two players in the NFL with 30 forced fumbles. So lots of history for the Bucs. Chris Godwin eclipsed 7,000 yards. Him and Mike Evans are the only two to do so. Godwin continues to be a stud, especially on third down, third and Godwin, as we like to call him around here. I think what you're seeing from this team when they can get healthy, when they have the game plan dialed up, is they're able to attack you from many different ways. And it's not going to be pretty every time, and it's not going to go like this every time. There's going to be times where, you're getting off to a slow start. It's how you overcome. And I think the confidence that this team is building in one another right now, saying, okay, we can, win a gritty game like the Lions. We can get out to a hot start, fast lead like the Eagles. We can bounce back from a tough loss to the Broncos. It's just adding character and adversity, and they'll lean on that as the season goes on. So, again, nice win against the Eagles. Anytime you make the birds cry and go home, that's great. Second and Fun says Mike Evans' first career touchdown was 10 years ago. Too bad it didn't work out for him. Get 100 today. That would have been awesome. That would have been cool. Mr. Determined says, go Bucs. Thought Baker got that touchdown. Called Bucky down early. I agree, too. What can you do? Refs are going to ref. And Freckle Wob says, going to need Mike and Lavonte statue at Ray J. They have the statue from Super Bowl 2002 inside One Buck Place with Sapp and Brooks and Gruden and Rondé and Lynch and Allstott and all those guys, Simeon Rice. And they do need some sort of – they need to immortalize those guys some way with Mike and Lavonte, and even Brady for what he did to this organization with the touchdown and kind of putting them back on the map. But on the whole, I thought, again, Buccaneers, fantastic win. 3 phases of the game. You'd like to have that, 2-point conversion back. Again, I think Jay Camarda makes that, but Jay Camarda hasn't been punting well, so that's why he was a healthy scratch. Got a couple of injuries I got to keep an eye on with Servassier Dennis and Trey Palmer. I'd be surprised if both of them are ready for Thursday. We'll continue to watch out to see if Luke can come back by Thursday. Again, he was close, ramped up in that concussion protocol, just couldn't pass the independent neurologist. And again, we'll see as well what the status is on Winfield. I think he plays, can't see, I'm not sure. But we'll keep you updated. We'll have a show on Wednesday. We'll kind of break down once I get the PFF grades and some of the snap counts. We'll just quickly recap this game again with some more of this concrete numbers and stuff like that, other than just the box score stuff and what I saw with my eyes. And then again, Zion McCollum continues to look like a beast, bro. I think he's you heard it here first. But I think Zion McCollum, they didn't even really target him that much because he was just shutting down that side of the field. He continues to be such a stud. But then we'll have a preview. I'll get an Atlanta Falcons guy. We'll talk a little bit of birds, see what they're doing. See Kirk Cousins, obviously, if his mobility is coming back a little bit, or if he's going to be predictable. And Bulls will love to feast on that predictability there. And then we'll do a wrap-up show from Atlanta on Thursday night. I'll be there, so we'll head down to the field to do a wrap-up show right from the field. But that's what's coming up soon. Hoping to get some players on mini bye week, so hopefully to get a player or two on. Even if we have to pre-record one and go live with the other. We'll figure it out. I'm always moving. We fly by the seat of our pants here at Pirate Parlay Podcast. But I want to thank everybody in here for coming on. Appreciate everybody in here. We'll give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We'll get out of here. Bucs Cruise. You guys already know. I shouldn't have to tell you. Looks like they're going to get another player is going to drop here. A really, really good player. You guys want to get this, check this out. March 7th to the 10th. Key West, Bimini, Bahamas, out of Fort Lauderdale, Tampa Bay Buccaneers Cruise. Such an awesome time. Join your fellow crew members and Bucs players. Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, as you can see, but Graham Barton, Luke Gedeke, Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Cansey, I believe Zion McCollum, Mike Allstott, Derek Brooks, Dexter Jackson, so many more. Last year they had a big surprise, which was Warren Sapp. So we'll see. I saw Warren today too. It was nice to talk to him. He had a big win with Colorado against UCF the other day, but unforgettable vacation, features so many different events, sail away party, trivia contest, bingo, cocktail parties, player panels, water volleyball competition, theme parties, your opportunity to meet these guys, talk to these guys, learn who they are off the field, other than just on the field, get autographs, and build so many lasting memories for yourself with Bucs players and fans from across the world. So truly across the world. We had some people from Britain last year, so check that out for sure. And then if you're in Florida and you're having some AC issues, heating and cooling issues, well, there's nobody better than Mosley Heating and Air. If you need to beat the heat, trust Mosley Heating and Air. With over 25 years of experience, their family-owned business knows what it means and what it takes to keep your home's HVAC system running smoothly. Need a repair, new system, or maintenance plan? They've got you covered. Call Mosley Heating and Air at 813-230-3742 or visit mosleyheatingandair.com. Mosley Heating and Air, where comfort meets reliability. That's going to do it for me here. I appreciate y'all. Falcons on deck. Bucs get this. They got a commanding lead in the NFC South Division. They trashed the Philadelphia Eagles 33-16. They're looking good. They're back on track. Tough loss to the Broncos. Back on track. 3-1, right where I thought they'd be in their season standings. We'll see. I did have L's coming up the next 2 games when I predicted this. We'll see if they can sway me, turn me around here. Some tough divisional games, short week divisional games. We'll see what the Bucs can do here. And they're also, I believe, getting the Saints off a bye week potentially too. So we'll see what happens coming up here. We'll be back on Wednesday with another edition of the Pirate Parlay Podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen. We're out of here. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.